Hey YouTube, welcome to Higher Math Solutions. This video tutorial is going to talk about factoring quadratics when a is not equal to 1. This video tutorial is going to take you through a step-by-step problem. Okay, let's start with 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. If you notice, your a is not equal to 1. But you always want to check to see if you have a greatest common factor before you do anything. The numbers 6, 11, and 10 do not share a greatest common factor, so we leave it as it is. So how to factor when a is not equal to 1 involves several steps, and let's look at the first step. Step 1. What you're going to do is you're going to do a times c. A is your first number, and c is your last number. So 6 times negative 10 is negative 60. Okay. Your second step is you're going to list all your factors for negative 60 that you can think of. We have negative 1 and 60, or positive 1 and negative 60. We have 2 and negative 30, or negative 2 and 30, negative 3 and 20, positive 3 and negative 20, negative 4 and 15, or positive 4 and negative 15. And this list can keep going. But what you want to keep conscious of is you want the pair of factors that add to be your middle term. So you don't want to keep going if you have those two pairs. So if you look at all these so far, the two numbers that add to be positive 11 is right here. So I don't have to keep my list going of the factors. Okay, so that is step 2. Let's move on to step 3. Okay. So our two factors are negative 4 and 15. And again, we chose these because both of these numbers add to be 11, our middle term. What I'm going to do is on step 3 is I'm going to rewrite my quadratic. But instead of putting an 11 here, I'm going to rewrite the negative 4 and 15 in its place. So I start writing my first term as is. Instead of an 11x, I'm going to rewrite a negative 4x and a positive 15x, and then I write my last term. So I went from 3 terms to 4 terms. My first and last term didn't change, but my middle term was changed to my two factors. Okay. On step 4, now I'm going to group these terms together. I'm going to group my first 2 terms by putting them in a parentheses, and then I will group my last 2 terms by putting them in a parentheses. Okay, let's move on to step 5. I'm going to use the greatest common factor to figure out what it is for each set of parentheses. So I'm going to look at the first set for these 2 terms. I'm going to look at 6 and 4. And to find its greatest common factor, I look at all its factors and pick the highest one. The greatest common factor between 6 and 4 is 2. So I'm going to take out a 2 and write it in the front. I also have variables involved. I have x squared and x, and the greatest common factor between x squared and x to the first is going to be its lowest power, which is x to the first power. So I will also take out an x to the first power. I will rewrite a parentheses, and I'm going to put what's left over. Now, if you have trouble remembering how to do greatest common factor, you can go back and look at one of my videos called Greatest Common Factor and review yourself on that. But to put what's left over is you're going to divide. 6x squared divided by 2x will be 3x. And then I will write a minus sign. 4x divided by 2x will be 2. And then I will close the parentheses. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the second set. So I will write a plus sign. I'm going to look at the greatest common factor between 15x and 10. The greatest common factor between 15 and 10 is going to be 5. So I'm going to take out a 5. But 10 doesn't have an x term, so I will not take out an x. I will open the parentheses and rewrite what's left over. So 15x divided by 5 is 3x. I'll put a minus sign. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now when you finish factoring out the greatest common factor, what should always happen is whatever you have left over should be the exact same. So I have 3x minus 2 here. I will also have a 3x minus 2 here. So if you end up not getting the same thing, you need to go back and check some work. Okay, moving on to step 6, which is our final step. I'm going to write 2 sets of parentheses right next to each other, and I'm going to finish factoring the whole thing. In the first set of parentheses, I'm just going to rewrite what I have already in the parentheses before, which is going to be 3x minus 2. So I'm going to take 3x minus 2, and I'm just going to write it in the first one. Okay. In my second set of parentheses, I'm going to write what was outside of the parentheses. So I have a 2x and a plus 5. So in the second set, I'm going to write the 2x and then the plus 5. And once you have that complete, you have finished factoring your problem by grouping. Thank you for watching Higher Math Solutions. I will be posting videos weekly, so please subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section.